want to let folks know that some of these intro pieces, we're going to be recording them so that we can share some portions of this with the rest of our community members, with other folks who are interested in the campaign. But when we do some of the Q&A, we're going to turn the recording off to make sure that this feels like a space where people can comfortably share their thoughts and ask questions. My name is Brandy Brooks. I use she, her pronouns. I live in Kensington, just a little bit west of the Wheaton Mall. And it's an honor to be running for Montgomery County Council at Large. And it's a special honor to be able to host this town hall for the Habeisha community. I want to thank so much Hannah and Coco and Tino who have helped to organize this. And I want to share a little bit about why it's so important to me that we're doing this. In Montgomery County, we like to talk a lot and pride ourselves on the diversity of our county. And there are wonderful things about that diversity, those statistics that people like to talk about, that we are a county that is majority people of color, that we are a county where 30% of folks who live in our county were born somewhere other than the United States. We like to talk about the number of languages that are spoken in our schools. And all of that, those are beautiful things. But the thing is that diversity isn't an amenity. It's not something that's just there for people to tout and then to use as a community characteristic to make profit off of or attract people to come. Diversity is us. Diversity is people. And what that means is that if we are going to actually respect and support the diversity of this county, that we have to respect and support the people who make up that diversity. And our community here in Montgomery County, our community of Ethiopians and Eritreans is one of the largest communities in the world where folks have gathered and have come here, have brought their families, have started businesses, have built up our communities in amazing ways. But one of the things that we know is that too often we don't actually take the time to connect with the communities of people here in Montgomery County who have actually come and who have actually helped to build this county and make it what it is. And so in my campaign, with my campaign team, we want to do things differently. We want to make sure that when we're talking about developing policy that is responsive to and supportive of the people of our community, that it starts with conversations with folks in our community. And a lot of you are here because of relationships. You're here because of the relationship that Tino had to introduce me to Coco and to Hannah. And then you're here because of the relationships that many of you have with them as family members or friends or neighbors or folks who've worked in civic spaces. And a huge part of us making sure that we are really being a county where folks are supported to thrive is actually being in real relationship with one another. Not just showing up a couple of weeks before election day and saying, come vote for me, I'll be the best. But actually getting to know folks, getting to have real conversations over time with people about what's going on in their lives, what's going on in their neighborhoods, and about their visions for the kind of county that we all want to live in. So that's what we're doing here today. And I am really, really excited. I thank you all for being here to help me take more steps in getting to know the Habeisha community. And I'm really looking forward to your thoughts and your questions as we go throughout the town hall. But the next thing that I'm going to do is actually hand it over to Hannah and Coco for them to explain a little bit more about why this town hall is so important from their perspective. And Hannah, I think I'm handing it over to you.
I'll hand it back to Coco and Dusty. Coco, you there? Okay. ሰላም እንዴት ናችሁ? Hello everybody. ስሜ ሀና ይባላል። የሀበሻ ከታክሞ ፓርክ ነዋሪ ነኝ። የሀበሻ ኮሚኒቲ እንደዚህ አይነት ፕላትፎርም ሲገኝ አንድ ላይ ተገናኝቶ መስራት ለምን እንዳለበት ሁላችንም እንረዳለን። ጠንካራ የሆነ ኮሚኒቲ የለንም እና እሱን ለመጎልበት እና አብረን ለመስራት እንደገና ደግሞ የአስተዳደር መሪዎች እና ለስለኛ ያላቸውን አስተሳሰብ ለመረዳት እና እኛም ደግሞ ከነሱ ጋር አብረን ሰርተን ይሄ ጎለናል ይሄ ያንሰናል ብለን አንድ ላይ መስራት እንድንችል እንደዚህ አይነት ቦታዎች መገኘት በጣም አስፈላጊ ነው ብዬ አስባለሁኝ። ይሄን ካልኩኛል ኮኮዬ ማስተዋወቅ ፈልጋለሁ። ኮኮ ወደ ፕላትፎርሙ ከመጣሽ በጣም ጥሩ ነው፣ ደስ ይለኛል። ቴክ ኢት ኦቨር።
ኦኬ ሚዩት አድርጌው ነው ራሴንና ሶሪ። ኮከብ ባላለው የምኖረው ሜሪላንድ ነው፣ ሰሚት ሂል። ሎንግ ስቶሪ ሾርት ይሄንን እንትን ጆይን ያረኩት ብዙዎች እንደምታውቁት መንጎመሪ ካውንቲ ሶሻል ሰርቪስ እዛ ስመላለስ ነው። አጋጣሚ was pandemic, I don't have a job, I have 2 kids, ሁለት ልጆች፣ አንድ ኮሌጅ አስተምራለሁ አንድ ደግሞ ቤት ይኖራል እና ሃውስ ውስጥ ነበር የምኖረው። ሶ መክፈል አልቻልኩም። ስለዚህ ሶሻል ሰርቪስ መመላለስ ጀመርኩኝ። እዛ እንዲት ሀበሻ ልጅ ተዋወቅ። እሷ ደግሞ ቲኖን አስተዋወቀች። ቲኖ ደግሞ ከብራንዲ ግሩፕ ከዛ ውስጥ አስተዋወቀ እና በዛ ምክንያት ብዙ ቮለንቲር መስራት ከነሱ ጋር መግባት መውጣት ጀመርኩኝ። ብዙ ጥቅማ ጥቅሞች እንዳሉት መንጎመሪ ካውንቲ ውስጥ ነዋሪ ስትሆኑ መቸገር እንደሌለባችሁ፣ ውጪ ሬንት መክፈል አቅቷችሁ መጣል እንደሌለባችሁ፣ መንከራተት መጨናነቅ እንደሌለባችሁ እንደዛ አይነት ነገር ኢንፎርም አደረጉኝ። እነሱ ብዙ ነገር ነገሩኝ። አወድ ላይክ ይሄን ያህል ዓመት እዚህ ሀገር ስኖር ይሄንን ነገር አላቅም ነበር በሚል እነሱን እንደውም ቮለንቲር እየሄድኩ ማገልገል ጀመርኩ። ምክንያቱም ብዙ ኢንፎርሜሽን ስለ ትምህርት ቤት፣ ስለ ካሌጅ ትምህርት ቤት፣ ስለ ሬንታል አሲስታንስ፣ ስለ ሜዲካል ፉድ ስታምፕ a lot of good things I heard about from Tino and the other people. So since then I stick with these people. This is በጣም ጥሩ ሰዎች ናቸው። እሷ ኮሚኒቲያችንን ልትረዳ ነው። የእሷን እንትን ለመደገፍ ብቻ ሳይሆን የኛን ኮሚኒቲ ልትረዳ ነው። ብዙዎቻችን እኔን ጨምሮ አፕሊኬሽን መሙላት እንኳን አንችልም። ምክንያቱም እዛ የሚሰጡን ኢንፎርሜሽን ትክክለኛ ኢንፎርሜሽን አይደለም። because of they give us wrong information. 4 or 5 times Rockville office ሄጃለሁ. I'm not supposed to. So እንደዛ አይነት ኮሚኒቲያችን ውስጥ ብዙም የሚያውቃለ ብዙም የማያውቃለ። እዚህ ስኖር እኔ ስለዚህ ጥቅም እንደማገኝ አላውቅም። ምክንያቱም 3 ስራ ሰራለሁ፣ ልጆቼን አሳድጋለሁ፣ ሬንቴን ከፍላለሁ። when it shut it down ያላችሁን እያወጣችሁ ከመክፈል ያለኝን እያወጣው በመክፈል ኋላ ቀረው ከሬንት እና what happened I apply rent relief እና በዛው የኔንም ቴስቲሞኒ እየሰጠኋችሁ ነው። እና ካውንቲው I don't know if you guys see $10,443 ነው ለኔ ለሰሚት ሄል የከፈለልኝ እስከሚቀጥለው ወር ድረስ for future rent also. So ሁላችንም በዚህ ጥላ ስር ነው ያለነው። ሴትዮዋ እኛ ጋር ያለችው እኛን ትረዳለች። ለዚህ ብቻ አይደለም፣ ለትምህርት ቤት ኮሌጅ ቀላል እንዳይመስላችሁ። ኮሌጅ እኔ ወደ 24,000 ብር ከፍያለሁ last year ለሁለት ሴሚስተር ማለት ነው። ስለዚህ ረጅሙን ታሪክ ባጭር እናርግና ያላችሁን እኔ እንትን ያላችሁ ኮመን ምንድነው እሱ ጥያቄ ያላችሁን በመጠየቅ ብዙ የምናገኘው ጥቅም አለ። ብዙ ምንረዳው መረዳት ያለብን ብዙ ነገር አለ እና እነሱ ይረዱናል። እሷንም እኛ ሰፖርት የምናረጋት በዛ ነው። ኮሚኒቲያችንን ልትረዳ እስከቆመች ድረስ ዋይናት እኛ እሷን ሰፖርት ማናረግበት እና ብዙ ጥሩ ነገር አለ እና ልጆች ያላችሁ በተለይ ሴንደም ቮለንቲር እየሄዱ ከቲኖ አለ እኔ ያለው ማንቻኑ ማለች ይስሩ ምንም ከባድ ስራ አይደለም just to tell the people that this kind of good business a good thing okay so sorry I take time so I'll finish the next person
thank you ኮኮዬ በጣም ደስ የሚል ነገር ነው ያስተማርሽን በጣም እናመሰግናለን and now we're going to move on to the rest of our programs thank you everybody
Great. So I see Etinesh, do you have your hand up? I don't know if there's a question to start.
ይቅርታ አሁን ኮኮቤ ከተናገረችው ልጆች አሉንና ቮለንቲር ኢንፎርሜሽን እንዴት እናገኝ ለማለት ነው thank you
ቴነሽዬ my personal number አስቀምጥልሻለሁኝ እኔና ከቲኖ ጋር እንዳገናኘሽ እችላለሁኝ ስልክሽን ጻፊልኝ personal እኔም ጽፍልሻለሁ
there you go yes
Perfect. Thank you. And thank you for that question, Antonesh. And we'll be posting that as well in the chat so folks can take it here, as well as making sure that that's part of the information that we send out to folks after the forum so everyone knows how to reach out to us. And I want to begin this next section. Again, a lot of times we do things where folks get to ask questions of the candidate, and we'll have room to do that too. But again, I actually want to start doing something a little bit different that I'm excited about, which is that I want to ask some questions of you all about what I need to know as someone running for office, as someone seeking to lead and really wanting to make sure that I'm supporting the Habeisha community. So we have a couple of questions where I'd just love for folks as we ask the question, if you have a thought about it, if you want to share, that you would raise your hand or just take yourself off of mute and speak up, because we'd love to hear from you. And the first question that I have for folks is, what are some particular things that you think elected officials need to know about the Habeisha community and how to engage the Habeisha community? Enku, I don't know if you're speaking and want to share a question, you may need to take yourself off mute. There you go.
Actually, I was talking to my family, sorry.
Okay.
But I already have my answer, but I don't want to take that first. But since you just called me, let me say it. So one thing what I just suggest is that in my community, I say Ethiopian community, what I observed is that most homestead moms, they are educated back to their home. They have an associate degree or bachelor degree, and some of them have more than a bachelor degree, I mean 2 degrees. But because there is no income-based daycare around us, most moms are forced to stay home till their children age 2 school or age 5, you know. So I cannot mention here how this situation puts them into depression, or, you know, there are a lot of things, because being independent, it is a big issue, just not to discuss in a short time. So I just suggest there are a lot of needs in the community, but the number one, wherever I get a chance in the high officials or everywhere, this is the number one thing I just mentioned. We need an income-based daycare. And for example, there is Centronia around us, but it is to get the waiting list is very high, like over 2 years. And we really need, I came from the Tacoma Park, and there is no a nearby affordable daycare. And how, the next question, how to reach us? There are a lot of non-profit organizations around us, like the Everyday Canvassing or Cheer, as I know. So It's easy, I can say. And we can make another meeting like this.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nku. One of the things I just want to mention, and then I'll continue to open up for folks to respond, is that this question of how we support work for folks who are, for women who are typically in our society have been told that they have to be in the role of being the primary caregiver of our children is a huge issue for gender justice and for economic justice. It's really important for us to be able to support the ways that women want to be able to work, whether that is inside the home or whether that is outside of the home, and make sure that either way, we have the appropriate supports in our society. I think this can start with things like what's called universal pre-K, pre-kindergarten. So for children who are, kind of 3 and 4, that's an opportunity not only to provide supports in terms of childcare, but also to be able to provide supports for those kids being able to begin, some of their learning and education process a little bit early. But in addition to that, we really need to make sure that we have strong subsidies that support folks to be able to use childcare in our communities. This is something that, again, just we know it's an important policy decision. It's an important place to invest resources. And it's also an important generator of additional economic activity. Because when we have daycare providers, because some folks, I remember my niece in her early years had an amazing daycare provider that was right there. She was doing it in her home, and she just provided this outstanding experience for kids. And they were ranging from infants all the way to 5 and 6. And that's an economic opportunity for her family too. And making sure that, again, the way that we build these systems of childcare supports parents who need to work, supports folks who want to run daycare centers to do so, to be safe, to have the right training and all of the resources that they need, and then to be able to generate income for their families. That's how we create systems that actually are based around care in our communities and meeting needs in our communities. So I love that you raised this as a key issue, because I think it's incredibly important. And I think there are models that we want to learn from around the country about how you do provide this kind of subsidy for families, because childcare is one of the most expensive, the highest expenses that families often have, especially if you have multiple kids, and it's really outrageous. Great. Other things I'd love to know: what do folks think that elected officials really need to know about the Habeisha community and about engaging the Habeisha community? And folks can feel free to raise your hand if you have a question, or just come off of mute.
Okay, just to translate what Brandy just said. የሀበሻ ኮሚኒቲን አስመልክቶ የተመራጭ ባለስልጣናት ኮሚኒቲያችንን ባተኮረ ምን ማወቅ ይኖርባቸዋል የሚል ነው ጥያቄው። የምታስቡትን አጋሩን።
Okay, what are those specific programs that you are intending to help the Ethiopian families? Is there any outline that we can get or something like that?
Sure. So I think one of the things, thank you for that question, Samson, is that part of what we're looking for in developing our platform is to understand, are there specific things that it would really be helpful to focus on? Our team has a policy platform, and I think it's been posted in the chat, where you can see our overall policy priorities. But we also want to know, are there specific things that we might be missing that are really important for the Habeisha community? So again, Nku raised one that we want to make sure that we're incorporating into our platform when we talk about what economic justice and about what education policy look like. And I know that there are folks on here who are business leaders, that there are folks on here who are doing all sorts of different things in our county. And I want to make sure that we are able to hear about the specific experiences that you're having, similar to some of the things that Coco shared, that we need to make sure to look out for. And Lenny, I know I saw that your hand was raised, so I'd love to hear from you.
I don't know whether I get it or not, but when you mentioned that there are some programs that help kids who graduated,
Mhm.
working for their second degrees or something like that, taking courses.
Mhm.
So are you helping them with the tuition that they're gonna just put on the program?
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So after kids have graduated, for instance, from high school, where are the supports that can help folks to get tuition for higher education?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, one of the things that I definitely support that's more of a national issue, but I think is really something that we want to be talking about here at the state and local level too, is eliminating college debt and then actually making sure that students have access, have easy and free access to higher education. This is something where we'd actually need to be partnering a lot with, again, with elected officials at the federal and the state level as well, to make sure that we are shifting the structure of how things like student loans at the federal level work or how tuition at the state level works. But I think this is a really important thing in terms of higher education access. And I know for myself, and this was, 20, 25 years ago at this point, that the cost of college for me ended up meaning that after 2 years, I had to leave the institution that I was originally enrolled at, because my family, we simply couldn't afford to continue to pay that level of tuition at the school where I was attending. And I think it's really important because I've had that experience, because different members of my family have definitely had that experience trying to navigate college costs, is again to both look at examples from other states of how people are making higher education free or lower cost, and then continue to advocate for this at all levels of government with our government partners. So I think that's, again, I think that's another really important thing that we want to look at when it comes to education access.
That's awesome. I don't know whether I took the participants' time or not. I don't know. But just I have one more question. So you were telling us about eliminating the students' payment, debt relief.
Mhm. Yep.
So how do you communicate? How do we communicate so that we can just do eliminating the debt so that our kids are relieved?
Yeah. So this is, and I think this is something where we can take note of this and follow up with you, Samson, on different organizations that are working on this around the country and nationally, because there are definitely organizations that are working to raise this with our elected officials, folks who were talking about this as part of legislation that they wanted President Biden to move forward. But there's certainly also folks who've been working on this at the state level as well. And we'd be happy to follow up with you to just share some information about how people are organizing around that, because it's a great effort to be a part of. And again, it, as someone who still has student debt from my my college and my graduate school experience, this is a big thing that is affecting people's incomes for decades. And we really need to understand this as an economic justice issue.
So how do we communicate? Are you going to put your address and everything so that we can communicate effectively? Just on time basis?
Yeah, so just before I move on to Lenny, I know we've been posting in the chat our email and our phone number and where you can mail us, as well as our website. But we can also make sure, I'll just ask Tino to make a note about following up with you directly to make sure that we share that information with you, so you have it in a way that feels accessible for you.
That is awesome and helping. Thank you for your time and patience. Again, thank you.
No problem. I appreciate it.
Let me proceed for other participants to just throw their ideas.
Cool. Okay.
All right.
And then I'm going to shift over. Lena, thank you for your patience. I would love to hear from you what your thoughts are on the key issues that you're experiencing.
So can you hear me?
I sure can.
Okay, it's great seeing you. So what I wanted to ask is, first place, what I wanted to answer were the question that what can you do in the Ethiopian community, Ethiopian Eritrean community, right? So my experience is, even though I lived here for a long time, so what I have gotten myself into this politics within the last 2 years, more in depth, right? So what I I think what we're missing is that even though we live in Silver Spring or whatever in US, but I don't see a lot of candidates that to learn the culture, because it's a very important thing to learn how to communicate with the different cultures, right? I think you're good at that one. I think that would be really important, even in the church setting, to just go. In our community, I think knowing person to person instead of greet and meet, person to person is, I think, is very important. But what I wanted to ask you is, to me, I think it is so important to really get involved in local election. The reason that I got into this very seriously into this politics is because they just passed this business improvement district. So most of us work probably 7 days a week, and we don't really understand gentrification. We don't really understand how important it is. That's the way they make the policy. So if we cannot really build our community, there is no, they make the the legislation in Annapolis. So I think it is so important to get really involved in the local more than even the national one. So what is your intake to, there is systemic racism. We say we're progressive in Montgomery County, but which I have found that we are not, and it's not a very good place to talk about it. It's not very comfortable. What would you do if you become, which I hope you would, at large? What will be your thing to change that?
Yeah. So both of these are great points, and Leonard, thank you so much. To the first one, I want to name just how much I appreciate bringing up that it's, it's not just about doing a Zoom meet and greet or having an event that our campaign hosts, but that it's actually about being able to be with folks in the settings in our community every day. The pandemic has made that harder for us over the last 2 years. But as I think as we're more vaccinated, as we're continuing to mask up, and as we're feeling a little bit safer, hopefully trying to be able to gather in some different ways while still being appropriate around social distancing, this is something that I'm really excited about being able to start to do again. One of the things that I loved when I ran for office in 2018 was about actually being able to go and visit churches or synagogues or mosques and connect with different people, because my faith is actually a really big part of even why I'm running for office and why I do the organizing work that I do. And so being able to join other people in things like sharing faith practice and being able to join in faith communities together is something that's, not only good for, campaign voter outreach, but is actually really great for me as a person. It's something that I find really supports me as a person to get to share with other people around our faith. Similarly, I love food, and I, not only have I worked in, sort of community food systems for a long time, but food isn't just like nutrients that we put in our bodies. It's it's whole cultural, spiritual connectivity relationship practice. And so those opportunities that we have to gather around things like, gathering around food, gathering around drink, gathering around play and the ways that we like to have fun with each other. One of the things that we're going to be doing in April is doing something with folks in the Indian community around Holi. It's a celebration that some of us know as color wars, but it's like sort of this like spiritual and seasonal celebration of the coming of spring. And that's going to be it's going to be a really fun opportunity for me to get to know folks from within the South Asian community, and also get to play and run around and throw colors on each other. And I think it's actually being able to do those kinds of things and engage in all of those different aspects of our lives. That's what shifts this from being just about elections to actually being about building community and building relationships. And I think that actually feeds into Lenny, the second question, which is that I absolutely agree with you. One of the reasons I'm excited all of you are here is because we need many more, like hundreds and thousands of more people in our communities to have good information about and be getting engaged in our local elections. A lot of times we kind of get distracted and turned off by what happens at our federal elections, because there's a lot of backbiting and nonsense that happens there. But we don't tend to be told about what's happening in our local elections. And this is the place where so many of the decisions that affect our day-to-day lives are happening. What goes on county council, what goes on in your planning board, what goes on in the school board. All of those things are impacting our daily lives, whether it's, how affordable our houses are, or what the school experience is like for our kids, or whether or not it's easy or hard to start and run a business, whether you have access to recreation space, all of that stuff. So much of the decision-making happens at the local level. And Lenny, like you were saying, the way that our system is currently set up is that it is set up to devalue people of color. It's set up to devalue Black folks. It's set up to devalue and ignore immigrants. It's set up to devalue and ignore women and non-binary folks. So it's set up to devalue and ignore all of these different people. And what that means is that when policy decisions get made, things like the Silver Spring Business Improvement District didn't get made by sitting down with all of the business owners who are actually part of the Silver Spring businesses, who have been making Silver Spring what it is for decades, like literal decades now, that people have been investing their lives and their money and their time in making downtown Silver Spring an amazing place to go for so many different things. But then when it comes time to make decisions about how policy will support business owners, folks who've been doing that work aren't involved. And then decisions get made that aren't going to direct resources to our communities, because our communities are Black and brown and immigrant communities, and we live in a system that doesn't want to direct resources there. And so we have to fight. And that's actually one of the reasons that I'm running, is to be part of that fight, is to go and say, nope, this is not how we're going to make decisions anymore. One of the things I get really excited about, and we get really excited about on our team, is developing something that we call participatory policymaking. And basically what it is making sure that when I, as a council member, am trying to develop an agenda around what kind of laws we want to move forward, that from the very start, I'm involving community members. So if it comes to something like economic development, I'm starting by making sure that I have a group of people from the community who are advising me, that I'm centering the voices of Black and brown people, of immigrants, of poor and working people in that group of advisors. And then that we're deciding together, what are the key priorities when it comes to economic development? And then we're deciding together, okay, which one of those priorities do we want to be developing bills on in 2023? And then we're actually doing the work of drafting bill language together. And if there are compromises that need to be negotiated, that's not just me, it's having conversations with folks in the community and engaging you all to be meeting with legislators, or to get legislators to come out and meet with you. And really talk about what these issues are and why they're important, and what the perspective is and what we want, and what are the things that aren't going to be okay for us because they would harm our communities. And then when we pass legislation, to make sure, one, I am a strong supporter and work with other community members to help pass the Racial Equity and Social Justice Act that the County Council passed in 2019, and to make sure that it had more provisions that we felt supported our communities. But then also now we have to make sure that it gets implemented properly. And one of the things I'm deeply committed to is making sure that our racial equity and social justice impact statements are taken seriously, that we are supporting the leaders that we have asked in our community and our county government to be part of monitoring and keeping us accountable to that we are listening to them when they say, hey, wait a minute, this law that you're about to pass actually isn't going to be supportive in terms of pursuing racial equity. That's something where, for me, that would be a place where I have to say, okay, then we have to stop. We have to stop and we have to take a look at this bill again, and we have to make sure that we revise it in response to those comments and in response to that feedback, because we can't pass bills that exacerbate that make racial equity worse. And that's the bottom line. That's my bottom line. We shouldn't be passing any bill that makes racial equity worse. And it's not enough for us to just pass this bill in 2019 and then pat ourselves on the back for it if we're not going to then follow the systems and structures that we set up. So I want to make sure that we are setting up, that we are following the processes that we already have to be accountable to community, and that we are setting up even more of them so that community members are part of our decision making. Lenny, yeah, I see your hand again.
So I just wanted to make sure with the equity. So the way it's working now, they passed it. They passed that one that's in there, but they're not really following it. So if you become, when you become a council at large, would you look at that one before? Would you give it to equity to study before even the bill comes up? The way they do it now, they already made the decision, then they ask the equity, which I know for sure they passed 2 of them that says it will negatively impact minority businesses. My concern is by 2050, it's going to be first generation or second generation of immigrants. So if we don't really put this right now, then it will be a very problem Montgomery County. So we might have to move another county.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think this is a huge problem that our current council is not taking these racial equity analyses seriously, and they're not holding themselves accountable to them. So, you know, one of the things I think that means, I will name that I alone cannot make those changes. We want to make sure that we're looking across the whole council. So look at every single one of the people who was running for county council at large. Look at the folks who are running, you know, depending on what district you live in, look at the people who are running for your district race and make sure that we're electing people in each one of these seats that are really supportive and focused on and committed to racial equity. And then when I'm on the council, this is something where in every discussion, I want to be, you know, if we are doing this analysis again after a bill, that in every discussion that I'm out there saying, hey, we have to make sure that we are paying attention to and following the recommendations of the Racial Equity and Social Justice Statement. But then the process that I talked about in terms of developing legislation, like you said, we don't want to wait until there's already a bill before we've actually thought about racial equity. We want to be doing that from the start with community members. And that's why I want to have these kinds of advisory groups and ways that I can work with community members on creating the legislative agenda and creating legislation from the start, so that again, we are taking into account racial equity, we are taking into account economic justice, we're taking into account gender justice, we're taking into account environmental justice from the get-go. And one of the other cool things about that process is that as we do this, as we're developing those things, we can look at what other communities have been doing across the country. We can look and say, okay, who's been doing a really great job around making sure that we're supporting folks around childcare? Who's been doing a really great job around making sure that we are deeply investing in small businesses with making sure they have access to capital, making sure they have access to space, making sure they get technical assistance? We don't have to always invent it for the first time ourselves. It's not very efficient. We can look around and say, okay, where are there places that folks are doing a great job? And we want to be able to figure out how to adapt that and bring that here to our county. I don't have any ego about being able to look around and see when other folks have done something brilliantly and be able to borrow that. And in fact, one of the things that I bring is that I have been organizing with folks all across the country for over 15 years. And so I know a lot of folks who are working in community organizations or working as elected officials on these issues. And I talk to them and I try and learn from them. And they continue to inspire me because we want to be a group of people who are exchanging best ideas with one another in our jurisdictions, across our regions, and across the country. And that's the way that I think about what it means to be an elected official, is that my goal is just to make sure that I bring like the best of what we can do to support all of our community members equitably, justly, doing real repair and restoration for the places that the systems that we live in have harmed us, and making sure that we are building a county where we don't just talk about our progressivism, but we actually demonstrate it every day and are a model for other communities to look and say, oh, that's how you make sure that a multiracial, multi-ethnic, international community of people is actually thriving together in a jurisdiction. That's who I want us to be. And that's my vision for Montgomery County. So I want to shift to see if folks have any additional sort of issues that that they want to bring up. And if not, then we can kind of change the dynamic and it can just be folks asking questions of me and what I want to do. And one of the other things that I want to note that I think is really important in terms of accountability to the people is around how candidates get their money to run for office. So I want to talk about this a little bit as an intro to maybe some questions that I might get from folks, which is running for office is really expensive. And the way that people have conventionally done it is that you go out and you try and get big checks from wealthy folks, from wealthy corporations. But what that tends to mean is that at every level of government, our elected officials consider themselves more accountable to people with big checkbooks than to most of the rest of us. And as one of those people who doesn't have a big checkbook, I want to make sure that I have elected officials who are accountable to me. And I want to make sure that running as an elected official, that I am accountable in the way that I want to see other people be accountable. Montgomery County has a public election fund that allows candidates to be able to run not by getting big checks, but by being funded by small donations from community members and to have those matched from the public election fund. I used that system in 2018. I'm using it again for my race this year. And what that means is that if you are a Montgomery County resident who is a US citizen or permanent resident, then you can give to my campaign up to a total of $250 and have that matched up to 4 times your contribution. So if folks give me $25, that gets matched with an additional $100 from the county and becomes $125 for the campaign. If you give $50, it becomes $250. If you were to give the maximum donation of $250, that becomes $700 for the campaign. This is tremendously powerful in terms of supporting candidates who are going to be more accountable to our community members. And for me, what it means is that I don't have to go around on one hand spending a lot of time chasing wealthy donors, then on the other hand trying to talk to people in my community. I can just talk to people in my community because they're my voters, they're my constituents, they are my donors, they are my volunteers. It's all the same folks. And that means a lot to me as a candidate to be able to do that. And it's something that as county residents, I want us to use and take advantage of. I want us to be continuing to show that we support systems like that by making donations to candidates who are using public financing, and making sure that it's consistently known that this is a system that we believe is really important for our communities, because we are leading in the region in doing this. We're one of the first counties or jurisdictions to do this kind of in the DMV region. There are now, I think, either 3 or 4 additional counties in Maryland that have passed this legislation. DC has passed it and candidates started using it in 2020 and are using it again. We want to be continuing to be leaders in this national movement for fair elections that support candidates like us to be able to run. without being beholden to wealthy donors. So with that, I want to invite, I'd love to hear more questions from folks. And Michelle is posted where you can make a contribution if you want to have that contribution matched up to 4 times. And I would love to hear additional questions from folks about, what do you want to know about me? What do you want to know about my background? What do you want to know about what's important to me when it comes to public policy? And folks can type in the chat if they prefer, but you can also come off of mute and speak. I love to hear folks' voices.
So one simple question, Brandy.
Okay.
So which ward were you serving in the past, and how long did you serve for that community?
Oh, okay. So this will be my first time holding elected office. So again, I ran for office in 2018. If folks were here, it was the big primary. We had over 30 candidates running for those 4 at-large seats. We placed 7th, which is really strong for a first-time candidate, but I decided I wanted to run again. But I have served as a public official in other places in my community, as well as working as a community organizer. So when I lived in Massachusetts, I served on the zoning review board for my community and helping to review zoning changes that people wanted to make for projects. I've continued to organize and get involved and testify at hearings here in Montgomery County on the minimum wage, testifying on the Racial Equity and Social Justice Act, testifying on bills to make sure that we stop police harassment and hold police accountable in our communities. So, and organizing around things like racial equity or environmental justice. So that's the work that I've done in the places where I've served as a public official and the ways that I've worked as an organizer here in Montgomery County. And then as well, what I do for my day job is I'm a consultant who works with grassroots organizations around the country on building those kind of participation in public policy processes that I was talking about, making sure that we're setting up structures where grassroots community members get to be decision makers in how policy is happening in their communities. So that's the work that I get to do every day. I get to train people around racial equity. I get to train people around what's called collaborative governance, which is basically, again, how do you do that decision-making in government in partnership with community members? And it's work that I love. I love being able to partner with people on making those kind of changes in their communities. And that's what I want to be able to bring to Montgomery County as a council member.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Other questions that folks have? I love questions.
Oh. Hello, Brandy.
Yes. Hey, Samson.
Yeah. I really was mesmerized with the detailed resume you were telling us, how you are caring about the community and working on social, economic, and environmental equity.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad to help you with all your endeavors. And there are different people in this room and other Ethiopian community too that we can organize and with different capability. So how do we organize? How do we get, how we can approach you so that we can organize Silver Spring communities around so that your dreams comes true. So your dreams come true means that we are also having our concerns that are applicable to the entire community at all.
Yeah.
So let's create a platform so that we can chat, we can call, we can organize things together.
Yeah, that's again, I love this enthusiasm.
Yeah,
and I'm actually gonna. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Simpson.
Yeah, you know, there are many Ethiopian restaurants, many Ethiopian gatherings around Silver Spring downtown. So that's a very big forum for you and for us too. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can do something marvelous.
Thank you, Samson. Again, I love hearing this enthusiasm. Definitely, we want to get connected to those places, you know, like where folks are having gatherings, where folks are having these conversations and connecting with community members. And I also want to share, I want to pass it over to Michelle from my team really quickly. Michelle, my campaign manager, who's going to tell you about one specific thing that we're continuing to do. That's a great way for folks to get engaged. So, Michelle?
So are you going to post us your email? And
yes, we're going to put that in the link, and Tino, if you can make sure that we post that in there. Yes, so we'll have
Tino is in this group.
Tino is in
Hey
this group as
Samson, how
well.
you doing?
Tino, how are you?
This is my longtime friend Samson.
Oh, great.
Oh, that's great.
I
So,
texted
yeah.
you Samson as well, but I'll put my.
You are everywhere.
That's
I'm
right.
everywhere. I'm just a fly on the wall. Every fly you see, that's me. I'm watching.
So yeah, we have a number of events that are happening that are great opportunities to get involved. I want to just highlight like things that you can do if you're have group meetings. Please feel free to invite Brandy to speak at that meeting. If you also want to host a special meet and greet or event, we can host that as well. We out in the community, or if it's better to do it online, whatever works. We want to be as flexible for you and for the folks that you want to bring together. And one of the great things that we're doing, which brought several folks here tonight, was we do language-based canvassing. And so we, Tino and I, and a group of our members of our Canvas team, we have English and Amharic lit. So one side's English, one side's Amharic, and we go to the doors and we talk to folks and we share information. And we try to make sure that if we are in a particular area that is primarily one language, Amharic, Spanish, Chinese, whatever it is, we're going to try and make sure that we offer language-based resources and have some volunteers who can assist that. So there's great opportunities, as you know, and Tino is helping us to get to where we can do that type of language-based canvas. And we want to do more of those with you. And so I hope that you'll connect with Tino and get his information so we can do that. Also fill out our volunteer form or sign up for an upcoming canvas. But there's great opportunities for us to do distributed canvases. So we give you a list, we give you an area and material, and you go out there with your group of friends and have those conversations and then share information back to us. So we're excited. Thank you, Samson. This is really exciting and exactly what we want to do on the campaign.
No problem. I'm anytime available for your service. And
Wonderful.
Tino knows that also.
Well, great. Well, and again, I love seeing how, with relationships, we're making these connections, we're delving in and finding ways and talking about the ways that we want to work with each other. Lenny, I see your hand up again.
Okay.
If you can speak a little bit about what is your definition of systemic racism in Montgomery County?
Yeah. So, I think my definition and what I see around systemic racism in Montgomery County is that you see, oh gosh, it shows up in so many different ways. You see that there are a lot of leaders or a lot of people in positions of power in government or in businesses and other places that aren't Black and brown folks, that aren't immigrants, that aren't people who've come from poor and working backgrounds, because those positions aren't made accessible to us. You see that structural racism looks like different areas of our county not getting investment in things like transportation or in their schools or in recreation or in making sure that they have good access to healthcare. You see structural racism, the way it plays out is that people, again, when people are making decisions, they won't invite, there's only certain wealthier or whiter folks that they will invite into the room, and they won't be reaching out and saying, okay, we definitely need to make sure that we have folks from the Ethiopian and Eritrean community as part of these conversations. Gosh, you see it in the fact that the combination of where someone lives, their zip code, and their race can predict all of these different factors, from how healthy they're going to be, to how long they're going to live, to what level of education they're going to be able to achieve, to how much money they're going to make. And that's because what we've done in the United States is we've taken folks and said, okay, you can only live here. And whether that used to be through formal things like redlining and restrictive covenants that said you couldn't rent to, different groups of folks, or whether we just only allow affordable housing to be in one place, or whether real estate agents only steer people to look at housing in one particular community. So you group people in these geographic groupings, and then you systemically make sure that in that area that people don't have the resources that they need, or that if they do happen to live in other areas, that they are consistently experiencing everything from getting weird looks to getting the police called on them, to if they are going to schools that are more white folks, that their children get put into disciplinary action more often in the schools. Systemic racism shows up everywhere in Montgomery County. And I want to take a minute to name how hard that is, and like how frustrating and how sad and how angry that makes me, that like every day in all these different places, we have to think about this. I have to wonder when I go and talk to people, are they going to take me seriously because I'm a Black woman? Or are they going to have a bunch of narratives about Black women that make them think that they shouldn't support me? I have to wonder when my niece goes to school, is a teacher or an administrator going to treat her differently because she's a little Black girl? I have to hear stories over and over again from people about how hard it is that they haven't been able to get rental assistance, or that they haven't been able to get economic assistance. And it's always the same kinds of folks. It's always Black and brown folks. It's always poor and working folks. And that's exhausting for all of us, because what we want to do here is the same thing that everybody else wants to do here, which is to come and take care of our families and work and live our lives and be in good relationship with people. And we shouldn't face barriers to that just because of the way we look or where we came from. So Lenny, I don't know if there's more follow-up.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Yeah, that's why I am definitely gonna support you. I did not have any doubt, but I wanted people to hear this. Those are the kind of people that we need to put in the council. They can say it, but we need to put people that who believe, and I can hear it in your voice. You're not really saying it just to say it, to get a vote. We need to find people who are still human. So it is very important. And I want my sister and brother to really look, not just because we said, let's vote for her, but to really look into the people. Who are these people? What do they believe and how do they live? So you have my 100%.
Thank you so much. And, and I just want to say, this is what is so beautiful about getting to run for office here, getting to run for county council at large. In every one of our communities, we have amazing, outstanding leaders. We have folks who are working and organizing and figuring out how to support their community and looking to get engaged. And I want to make sure that every one of us is really supported to have the opportunity to do that. Again, one of the ways that structural racism looks is by saying, oh, those people don't care about X. And the number one thing I know when somebody says that is that whoever those people are, they've never talked to them. Because when I go around and I talk to folks, they absolutely care about what happens in our government. They absolutely care about what happens in our schools. They absolutely care about what happens around our environment. And that narrative, that way of saying things is just another way for people to make an excuse about excluding and marginalizing us. And I don't want to hear any more excuses. I just want us to have what we and our loved ones and our communities deserve. So I want to open the floor, make sure we have room. If any other folks have questions, again, as you can see, I really love questions. I get really excited about the questions that I get to answer.
Hi, Brandy.
Hi, Samson.
I'm coming again and again.
I love it.
Yeah, so it's really amazing that your vision is multi-track. Multi-track in a sense, you are concerned about environment, you are concerned about education, you are concerned about economic equity, you are concerned about social equity and everything. This is a very vast approach and very strategic concern. So with this issue in hand, so do you have a strategic team who can elaborate all the issues that you have at hand and presentable to the communities that we are organizing? That's the question.
So one of the things we have on our website is our policy platform. And one of the things I want to talk about as a follow-up to this town hall is so that like the issues that folks have been raising, we're not just here to talk about those. These are things that folks on my team, like Tino, like Michelle, are taking notes about. Because as we go and as we continue to build out our policy platform, the things that you said, we're incorporating those into our policy platform. It's one of the main reasons why we're doing these town halls, is to make sure that we're hearing from folks about what the priorities are. So when I say this is a priority for our community, I'm not just making that up, that it's actually priorities that are coming from our community. So that's one thing. And if there are folks who want to get more involved with our policy team, again, we're going to be doing forums on housing. We're going to be doing forums on economic development and workers' rights. We're going to be doing forums on the environment. And so if any of those topics interest you and you'd like to help to plan an event like this, then you can get involved with our policy team. And that's one of the things that you can indicate when you fill out the volunteer form or when you call or email us. And again, one of the reasons why we do that is, one, we want folks to really see themselves reflected in our platform. And we also, I say this a lot to folks, like, I've got a pretty good brain. It serves me pretty well, but I've only got one brain. And we have a county of over 1 million people. So we need way more brains engaged in generating the solutions that we need for our communities, because there's no way that my one brain or even 11 brains on the council are going to understand everything that we need to understand. So in addition to the fact that I believe that it's right, in addition to the fact that I really like connecting with people, I believe in engaging community members in developing policy because it makes better policy. And so that's what that's what I'm really excited about and excited about having folks involved in. So Samson, that's something that we can definitely follow up with you and follow up with other folks if you want to be engaged more in our policy, or if you want to be engaged more in like knocking doors and calling voters, or if you want to help with stuff at the office, or if you want, if you want to help driving yard signs to people. There are actually, one of the things that folks often don't realize about a campaign is that there's so many different things that happen on a campaign, and there's almost always something that you can be doing that connects with the time you have available, the skill set you have, and the things you're interested in. So if you're thinking, oh, well, I don't really like canvassing, so I think that maybe there's not something that I want to do on a campaign, don't think that. Because you can always call and connect with us, and we'll talk with you to say, here are all the different things that we're doing. What does feel like it's the right fit for you? Because we want folks to be able to find the ways that they can connect and get engaged, not just in this campaign, but in our communities. And like Michelle said, if there's a thing where you want to help arrange a time when I can come and talk to a group that you're a part of, that's a totally great way to be able to, to use your skills and your connections to help with what we're doing. All right, so we have come to the end of our session. And again, I want to say thank you so much for everybody for being here. This has been a great conversation. I'm so grateful for everyone who's been here. And I want to throw it to Hannah and Coco for some final thoughts, just to see if there's anything final that you want to be able to say to folks. And then Tino, you can wrap us up for the evening.
Thank you so much, Brandy, for approaching us. I really appreciate your time and good luck.
Coco,
All right,
you wanna go first?
እናመሰግናለን በጣም I don't know where is the interpreter. The people, some of us, you know, really we don't understand English, but anyway, I support you, Brandy, on myself starting today. So ሁሉም እንደተናገረችው ነው ሳምሶን. If you need more information, you have to contact with Tino or me. We can guide you there. And thank you for coming. Anybody ጥያቄ ካላችሁ text አርጉን፣ number አለው እዛ ላይ. If you have any more question, you want to know more about the meeting, you can contact us. There you go. Tino post my number and we can connect you with Brandy and Tino. Okay, we're working as a team. Thank you for everybody for coming. በጣም አመሰግናለሁ ስለመጣችሁ. Thank you, Samson.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Miss Brandy.
Thank you, Coco. Hannah, any final words from you?
ሁላችንም እናመሰግናለን. Thank you everyone for being here. Trying to support our community is very vital. And having this platform where we all can come together and share our thoughts and opinions of what matters to our community specifically. And as you know, we don't get a lot of voices from policy makers or any elected officials that much, because we don't have the platform to actually go there and as a community, as a whole, let our opinions be heard. So thank you, Brandy, for giving us this platform. And we are so appreciative of your support, and we have no doubt that you do what you say you will do for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Hannah. All right, Tino, anything you want to say to close us out?
I thank you really very much, Brandy. Really, I don't have words to appreciate you. Really, it is a good chance for us, especially for us. Really, God bless you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you all so much. This is really wonderful. And I again, I have to say thank you right back, because it, you know, we know that it matters. We know that this is your time that you're investing, that this is your energy that you're investing in being here. And that matters. And me and my team, we value that tremendously.
Yeah, really thank you about your team, and you are concerned about everything. Really, God bless you, and be continue. We are follow you.
Thank you.
God bless you.
All right.
Thank you so much for everyone. I appreciate for about everything. We will see you soon, I hope. God bless you. Keep it up.
Thank you. And God bless you all. This is just a wonderful and such an encouraging thing to be able to hear folks get excited like this.
Yeah.
All team too.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Miss Brandy. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
I wish you well did.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you all.
Thank you
Glad
all.
to see you all. Oh, can we
Thank
have
you.
everyone turn on their video and we can get a town hall picture?
Yep. If folks are willing and want to
Sure.
stay on and turn on your video so we can get a quick picture, we love to get pictures of folks, just to be able to show who we have here connecting with us. Yes.
Turn the picture that way, did we?
Gotta turn that
While
off.
folks are getting on their camera, Tino, why don't you just give some final wrap up of how we're going to reconnect. We're going to connect with folks afterwards. So.
Sure. Coco, Hannah, I will text you some information on how to get involved as well. I know that it's been in the chat, but just so that it's easiest accessible for you, we'll make sure that you have the information you need just at your fingertips on your of your phone. Etanesh and I have been talking. Samson and I have been talking over text already. So feel free after that to stay in touch, text with us, because that's like one of the best ways to get in touch. You know, email can be great, but I know it's super convenient to just text and be like, oh, I have a question here and there. Oh, I want to get involved. You know, I'm too busy right now, but I can get involved later. All of that we can do over text. So we will be in touch soon. And all right, we have a lot of folks here now, as many folks I think are going to turn on their camera as, oh, 2 more people came in.
All right, here we go.
Turn on your camera.
One thing I'm going to add.
Okay, Coco, go.
Folks, when you call somebody 10 to 10, okay? Not midnight, not after midnight. When you need information, call me from 10 a.m. to 10 a.m. Or if I don't pick up the phone, please leave a message. Okay, don't wake me up. Love you guys.
Love you.
Right.
Thank you so much.
All right, so Michelle, do we got that photo? What, 1 minute? Okay. Oh, wait, 1 more minute.
One more, we're gonna do it one more time. So everybody just look at the camera. Okay, everyone look at the camera, smile.
Let me take my book.
Beautiful, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all. It's been wonderful having you.
I love it. I love it.
Wonderful time.
See you soon.
But I'm so glad you're here. I'm coming to visit you too.
Okay.
All right. Take care, everyone. Have
All
a
right.
great
Bye,
night.
Tino. Bye.
Bye, Coco.
Bye.
Thank you so much for interpreting.
Yes,
All
well,
right.
Kida,
Coco
thank
and
you.
Hannah,
So
if you could
much.
hold on for a second, just so we can debrief right after we're done. So as people are leaving, so hold on 1 second. Thank you so much, everybody. Do you want to play out your music, Tino?
Oh, true. I can play goodbye music. Yeah,
What?
I got the goodbye music. All right, computer audio.
You're from Africa? From where?
Me? It's kind of welcoming though. It's so much more welcoming than goodbye. I feel like it's hard to leave. It's so cheery.
Cheery goodbye. That's what you want. So.
Yeah, that's good. It's a beautiful goodbye.
All right, we're gonna start moving folks into the waiting room so that we can.
Great. And Michelle, if you can stop the recording, that'd be great.
Oh, yeah.